How can we recycle garbage? Level 3-10. Today is recycling day. There's a lot of garbage, says Mrs. Peggy. Don't throw them away. Put them in the bin. What are these? Asked Lucy. They are recycle bins, says Mrs. Peggy. Recycling? Says Chris. Recycling means using things again, says Mrs. Peggy. Can we recycle newspapers? Asked Lucy. Yes, put the papers in the blue bin, says Mrs. Peggy. How can we recycle them? Asked Chris. We can make books and cereal boxes with recycled paper, says Mrs. Peggy. Can we recycle drink cans? Asked Chris. Sure. Put the cans in the green bin, says Mrs. Peggy. How can we recycle them? Asked Sam. We can make pots and pans with recycled cans, says Mrs. Peggy. Can we recycle old jars too? Asked Sam. Of course. Put the glass bottles in the yellow bin, says Mrs. Peggy. How can we recycle them? Asked Lucy. We can make plates and mirrors with recycled glass, says Mrs. Peggy. Can we recycle shampoo bottles? Asked Lucy. Sure. Put the plastic bottles in the red bin, says Mrs. Peggy. How can we recycle them? Asked Chris. We can make toys and plastic bags with recycled plastic, says Mrs. Peggy. How about food waste? Can we recycle them? Asked Sam. Sure, put them in the black bin, says Mrs. Peggy. How can we recycle them? Asked Sam. We can make food for plants with food waste, says Mrs. Peggy. How about old clothes and boots? Asked Sam. Can we recycle them too? Asked Chris. Sure, says Mrs. Peggy. Look, we can make an apron with the old dress, says Mrs. Peggy. It's pretty, says Lucy. We can make a flower pot with the old boot, says Mrs. Peggy. Where is my shoe? Asked Mrs. Jones. Sam, have you seen my shoe? Yes, here it is, says Sam. Sam, what are you doing? Asked Mrs. Jones. Look, Mom, I am recycling your shoe, shouted Sam. Ta-da! It's a flower pot. Oh no, that's my new shoe.